will be a Saints update on June 26th about breakdown in negotiations.
WWL 870 AM News Talk and Sports Radio. This is Sports Talk with Kenny Wilkerson. To join the conversation here on the Big 870, call 504-260-1870. Now live from C&G Tower next to the Louisiana Superdome, here's your host, Kenny Wilkerson.
All right, thank you very much, and welcome again to Sports Talk. Kenny Wilkerson with you on this Tuesday evening. For now, while Buddy's on vacation, he'll be joining us, and he'll be back on with us here at 6 o'clock. Give him a little bit of a break, as this has been going on all day, and been going on for quite a while, quite frankly. Mr. Benson's press conference, and I'm going to call it that because that's who's going to have the press conference, Mr. Benson, will take place at 6:30. Obviously, we will, of course, have that right here on WWL. 260-1870, the number to call. Naturally, to join the conversation, we've already got a number of people who have been on hold forever, and I'll get to you as soon as possible, and we'll try to get as many calls in as we can, but you know, don't be afraid or anything. This is going to be going on for quite a long time. I'm sure by now you know the news and that the negotiations have broken off. You'll hear the Saints side of this. I've heard bits and pieces of the Saints side already. We've heard the state side of it. They claim different things, and as with most stories, and the Saints are aware of this, and everybody is aware of this, you know, there's always, in a way, three sides. Their side, or both sides, and then somewhere in the middle you kind of find out what the truth is. I think that the state was pretty strong in some of the things that they had to say today, and I think you're going to see Mr. Benson come out pretty strong as well in another hour and 15 minutes with the things that he has to say. In essence, in some, without getting into some of those details, and we will get into the details of all this, you know, when they're saying that the Saints are not, we're from the very beginning not negotiating in good faith, you know, why don't they just come out and say the Saints have been lying the whole time? I mean, it's the same thing. And I mean, the Saints are not stupid. They're aware of that, and they don't like it. They can say the same things, and in all likelihood they will. You look at the new package and give you a little brief rundown of what has taken place in the last couple of days and since last week. You remember that the state came to the Saints with a proposal early last week that appeared to be not so bad in some ways, but an awful lot of things and an awful lot of gray areas, I guess is the best way to describe it. Now, the Saints come back with a proposal to them on Thursday that the governor, Perry, everybody, Saints, everybody said the same thing, especially the governor, that the numbers were basically the same and that they had to kind of sift through it and go through it. And, you know, they felt pretty good about working some things out. Saints basically kind of said the same thing, that, you know, they felt pretty good about things after the way that meeting went. What has happened and what has been failed to be mentioned so far is that the package brought out today was a completely other package, and in most cases, and in a lot of cases, what the Saints re-proposed and counter-proposed to them on Thursday was totally disregarded. They came back with their own thing. Now, you know, there's a lot of different ways to do things, and obviously everybody is very passionate about this, and everybody has their own opinions about how things should be done and who owns what and who has what and who should do what. And I'm sure that the Saints, part of their attitude has to be along the lines of, you know, we don't need the state to tell us how to do the business. We're in the National Football League, and we're in the business, and they don't like the way that we've got things laid out of how we want to do it, and they want to tell us how to do it, and that's not going to fly. What happened with this stadium thing from day one, it has been in there that Mr. Benson wanted a new stadium. The reasons why and everything have been talked about and hashed over and gone over 1,000 and trillion times with Buddy and Corey and everything at night with the callers. If you don't know by now and don't have, you know, understand all that, you know, there's not much you can say about it at this point in time. Why, and whether he needs it, whether he wants it, and if it's only ego, blah, blah, blah. None of that matters. None of that matters at this point. What matters is that it is what has taken place, and that Mr. Benson doesn't want to sign any type of deal that doesn't involve a stadium. The state says they weren't negotiating in good faith, but the state comes back with a proposal today that is guaranteeing them and they say it puts them in the top 10. It guarantees them about $8 million in the year 2001 additional income, which puts them at 22. Then it then it puts another $4 million in there, some of it guaranteed by exit credits. Now, if you've got exit credits in a deal that you're negotiating in good faith to build a stadium for this gentleman, why do you have exit credits in there? What do exit credits need if you're signing a long-term deal and you're going to build a stadium? What is that? It's the same thing as what the Saints are saying. The state is saying about the Saints, that they weren't operating in good faith. I mean, that's simple English as far as I'm concerned. Why do they have clauses in this thing to get out of it when, if in good faith, they were going to build a stadium? Make any sense? Makes sense to me. It's coming up on 5:17 here at WWL.
The following is the Saints update on July 9th, where a tentative agreement has been reached by both parties.
Stand by, New Orleans. It's time for Sports Talk with Buddy D, WWL's Big Daddy of Sports.
Are you nuts? You must like being called a squirrel.
Louisiana's Sportscaster of the Year, more times than you can say
WWL.
Now, the mouth of the South, WWL's Buddy D.
Good evening and welcome to Sports Talk. This is Buddy Delaberto back from a 2-week vacation, and tonight we're broadcasting live from Harrah's Casino at the foot of Canal Street. We're broadcasting live from the Hideaway Lounge at Harrah's. We'll be here all the way to 8 o'clock. If you're in the neighborhood, stop by. We have a live mic here. Anyone who want to comment on today's developments, a late development story this afternoon where the Saints and the State of Louisiana have agreed in principle on terms that will keep the Saints in New Orleans and playing at least 2 more football seasons, probably a lot longer. But in the meantime, an interim starting very shortly. They'll be appointed a blue ribbon committee to study the feasibility of a new stadium, to study the feasibility of a re-engineered Superdome, to study the feasibility of, not still continue to play where you are and renovate, whatever the Blue Ribbon Committee decides. Then and it's up to the Saints to make that decision, and they'll have January of 2003 to have all this worked out. And if the Blue Ribbon Committee says, we don't think it's feasible to build a new stadium or even re-engineer the dome, and that's not to all the Saints' liking, then there'll be an escape clause. But right now, for at least 2 more football seasons, the Saints will be the New Orleans Saints. They'll be in the Superdome, and quite frankly, I think it'll be for many years to come, but you can guarantee it's for the next 2 years. And they're working out the details. In the 2 years, the next 2 years, the state has guaranteed the Saints $12.5 million in revenue each year. Now, how that money will be allotted to the Saints, those details are still being worked on and worked out, but the state has agreed in principle to guarantee is the word, the Saints $12.5 million in revenue each of the next 2 seasons. And, of course, that's to make them more or less get up to around the middle of the league as far as competitiveness, as far as unshared revenue, which is what it's all about today with free agency and the signing bonuses and everything else. Now, my question in this hour, and again, we hope to have guests as we go along. I know we'll have Bill Hines of Metrovision on, who's elated over the news today. We'll also have some leave after the 2002 season. For late tuners in, around 4 o'clock this afternoon, the State of Louisiana and the Saints agreed in principle to a deal where the Saints would get guaranteed from the Saints $12.5 million for the next 2 years each. That's a total of $25 million. In turn, a Blue Ribbon Committee will be formed within the next week or so, and by 2003, January of 2003, they'll have to come up with the conclusion of the feasibility study, whether a new stadium is the way to go, whether re-engineered the Superdome is the way to go or what. But the penalty, if the Saints would want to exit after 2002, is $75 million. That includes the $25 million that the state will be guaranteeing in 2001 and 2002, and a $50 million on top of that. So basically, I got to feel that Tom Benton, even if he was, got a good offer, would have to think twice about coming up with $75 million to go someplace else. So I think that at least that figure's high enough that right now, I say, man, I think you can almost guarantee that they're going to be at least through 2005. It might be for long term, and it very well could be headed in that direction that is long term. But the penalty fee the exit fee is $75 million if they want to leave after the 2002 season. Head of Metrovision, and Bill, thank you very much joining us. And, man, with this agreement they've reached today in principle, you have been kind of projecting this same type of thing for a couple of weeks now.
Well, buddy, as you know, it's a number of people have been talking kind of privately, and that's business leaders, regular fans, and in the last 10 days or so, the state legislators and the mayor. We keep leaving the city governor out, but the mayor and Tim Coulon have been involved in this as well. And I think there was a consensus to do, I guess, what Arnie Fielko called a short-term, long-term deal, which is get the money done this year, let's go sell suites and tickets, and let's make this stadium decision. We'd said anywhere from kind of 12 to 18 months. They came up with 18 months. That's fine.
Bill, doesn't the $75 million exit fee penalty sound high enough that, in all probabilities, an owner or anybody is not going to just come up with that just to get out of a lease?
Yeah, if it is, and I haven't gotten the details of the plan either, so I'm just listening to you on that. But if it's that high, I certainly agree. Now again, we've seen a lot of crazy things happen, and maybe there's someone that wants to stroke a check that's that large. But I am taking Mr. Benson at his word, and from people like Gary Robertson, who said he's talked to the commissioner's office, is that I personally believe they really do want to keep the team here if we can work it out. And so I'm very hopeful that if it's a well put together blue ribbon panel with all the different interests represented, that by the time it comes out, there won't be a report that's negative because the Saints will have been part of it. That some deal will be worked out.
Bill, how many people do you think will be on the Blue Ribbon Committee? Which would be a working number?
Yeah, I don't know, buddy. In fact, this has been discussed for 6 or 8 weeks, and that's a good question. Because of all the interest involved, I wouldn't be surprised to see some committee that as a committee could be as big as 30 or 40 people or something like that, but maybe Buddy would have sort of an executive committee, and or subcommittees to get the work done, because it's obviously pretty hard to get 40 people in a room to do something. But I could see where you'd have an executive committee and somebody that looks at real estate and somebody that looks at financing and that sort of thing.
But again, as far as the executive committee, that would be probably no more than a half a dozen or so.
Well, I think any group, if they look at that recent Committee for Better New Orleans deal, I think its executive committee was something like 8 people or something like that, and it had 120 members. You just need to have a manageable group, but there needs to be somebody off looking at financing, somebody looking at real estate, somebody looking at what other stadiums look like around the country. So as I said, I think, but in a way, this will be the fun part. This will be part of an overall look at economic development.
Now, they put the naming rights for the Dome on the back burner for the moment. That's not too far on the back burner, but for the moment, what you reading on that?
Well, what I saw is, and again, I just watched that press conference on TV around 4, is what I saw is well, it was on the back burner in that it's not part of the guaranteed money, because right. I think there's some concern as to how quickly it could happen. But I think what you'll see now is it appeared that the Saints and Steve Perry agreed that starting tomorrow, they would aggressively get together and go after a naming rights sponsor, because, I know Doug Thornton's mentioned this on one of your shows you had a few weeks ago. With a Super Bowl in town and a Final Four right after, even regardless of the 10-year look, there's got to be some company that for a price would love to name this dome during those kinds of events.
It's interesting because in the last week's issue of Sports Business Journal, they got a story about the Superdome name. I don't know if you read it.
No, I didn't.
They said that is it too late to get real value for the Super Bowl being played here as far as naming rights? And the bottom line is it's getting late, but it's not too late. And they said, here's the quote, if the right group gets in there and if it's their mission to capitalize on it and they're willing to put the resources into it, yes, they still have time to do it. This is coming from Larry Silver, the director of marketing for Raymond James Financial Incorporated. Now, Raymond James Stadium is the stadium where the Super Bowl was played last year, and they said its name recognition saw a surge of about 40% in business after last year's Super Bowl at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa.
You know, that's something, and I know Doug discussed on your show, and I don't want to try to get them to negotiate their naming rights deal, you know, on your show tonight, but, you know, ideally, I think you'd like to see someone come in and sign a 10 or 20-year deal, and but when you don't know where the Saints will be in that time, buddy, my guess is this will have some sort of a stage set of fees where you'll have something for the Super Bowl year and then maybe something for the Final Four year, and then depending on whether the Saints stay in the Dome or there's a new stadium, you know, it could be assignable or breakable or priced different ways.
WWL First News. It's 8 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Richard Hunter. 89 degrees and partly cloudy in New Orleans. Here's the latest. Governor Foster says the state and the Saints have reached an agreement in principle to keep the team in New Orleans.
It has to do with, and I'm going to be brief again, with immediately in the next 2 weeks trying to get a group together, take a look at the stadium issue, the Superdome issue, and lay that to rest over the next year.
The group Foster is talking about is a committee to study the feasibility of building a new stadium or re-engineering the Superdome. The panel will report no later than January 2003. Once an agreement on a new stadium or re-engineered dome is reached, the state will continue an escalating inducement package while the work on the new or improved home field is done. Benson also spoke at this afternoon's news conference outside the governor's mansion to announce the agreement.
Both our goals have always been to try to keep the team right in Louisiana, and I think we've made great strides today.
The governor's chief of staff, Steve Perry, says the state will give the Saints a guaranteed $25 million in operating cash over the next 2 seasons. The agreement also allows the Saints to leave New Orleans by 2002 if the team believes it can no longer make money in the Crescent City.
The worst possible case scenario of an exit strategy at some point, because simply we can't afford them, some of these inducements are actually be paid back in that exit strategy. So the state has protections, they have protections, but the reality is we're never going to have to get the money back from them because we're going to keep the New Orleans Saints here.
And Perry says the Saints would also be able to leave if an agreement is not reached on the future home stadium of the Saints. Saints Director of Administration Arnold Philco says it was important to have the governor and Tom Benson face-to-face at the bargaining table.
I think it helps to have the principals involved. I think there have been a lot of occasions where we've gone back and we've talked to our principals, and time, you know, sometimes gets lost given the communication. I think having them here helped a lot.
The following is the Saints update on July 25th, Blue Ribbon Committee named.
Welcome again to Sports Talk. Buddy Delaberto, and be careful on a rainy drive home. Well, the Blue Ribbon Committee that's supposed to make the study about the feasibility of building a new stadium for the New Orleans Saints or re-engineering the Superdome or whatever was picked today, selected. 52 men on the committee, but the most important thing, 38 of the 52 are from the New Orleans metro area. 6 are from Jefferson Parish and 4 from New Orleans East. So I like the odds there because now you got 48 of the 52 from either the New Orleans metro area, Jefferson, or New Orleans East. So, man, they certainly going to be looking out, you would think, for New Orleans' interest and let the other half of the state go to hell like they keep saying about the Saints go to hell. All right, Ribbon Committee, 19 of them 52 are politicians. We'll be running down the list as we go along on Sports Talk. Our call of the Blue Ribbon Committee, that's 52.
WWL First News at 6 o'clock. Good evening. I'm Don Ames. 75 degrees and rain in New Orleans. Here's the latest. CEO and President of Energy New Orleans, Dan Packer, will serve as chairman of the governor's 52-member Blue Ribbon NFL Stadium Commission. Their ultimate decision, should the Superdome be renovated, is a new stadium needed, and can the city afford to keep the Saints? Governor Foster was in Grand Isle for the Tarpon Rodeo, so his spokesperson, Steve Perry, assigned the group's responsibilities. Jefferson Parish Senator Ken Hollis is one of the members.
The charge of this commission is to look at all possible alternatives as far as a dome is concerned. Should the dome, the Louisiana Superdome, be renovated. Number two, to look at re-engineering. The third option would be the possibility of building a new stadium.
Foster spokesman Steve Perry says that he charged the members of the commission with some other responsibilities as well.
We are also asking the commission to identify legislative mechanisms, financing options, and all financial and legislative enactments that are required for each of the options. In doing that, remember that a stadium option recommendation alone doesn't get you to where you need to be, because you have to deal with inducements and operating issues. So concurrent with each stadium option recommendation, we are asking the commission to develop for us all of the terms, conditions, and funding sources which are necessary and appropriate to accompany each of those stadium options.
Perry says the commission must have a final report for the governor in January 2003.
Following is a Saints update on negotiations with the state effective September 26, 2001.
WWL First News, it's 5 o'clock. Good afternoon, I'm Chris Miller. 76 degrees, mostly sunny in New Orleans. The news is brought to you by Marshall Brothers Lincoln Mercury at Veterans in Clearview since 1970. The New Orleans Saints will remain in New Orleans for at least 4 more years. The NFL team and the state of Louisiana have worked out a new deal to keep the team playing in the Superdome for up to the next 10 seasons. The new agreement provides the team with a series of inducements.
In the first 2 years, $12.5 million net incremental income flows to the New Orleans Saints, followed in the second 3 years by $15 million, $15 million, $15 million.
Governor's Chief of Staff Steve Perry says the inducements escalate to $23.5 million in 2010. Funding after this year would be worked out by the panel studying whether to renovate the Superdome or build a new stadium. The pact also gives the Saints a one-time opportunity to break the lease and leave after the 2005 season for a $75 million payout. The deal also includes an indoor practice facility for the Saints.
The state has agreed to partner with the New Orleans Saints in the development of an indoor practice facility and expansion of their existing facilities here on this site at a cost of approximately $8 million, with the state paying 75% of that, or a $6 million cap.
Perry says the state will also offer assistance in getting an arena football team to be owned by Tom Benson into the New Orleans arena.
Again, the Sports Talk, Buddy Diliberto, along with Hokie Gajon. We're broadcasting live from the Beau Rivage Casino and Resort in Biloxi. We're here every Wednesday night throughout the football season. And Hokie, the news is good today. The Saints and the state have at least agreed. It's still got to get past the legislature after this year, but agreed to a new deal that supersedes the agreement, the verbal agreement that Governor Foster and Tom Benson made a month and a half or so ago. And this one assures that the Saints stay here through 2005, and really it's a 10-year agreement, and the way it's structured and everything, and what they're going to do and what it would cost to get out of it and everything would give every indication that Tom Benson has been true to what he's been saying, although some people didn't believe it, that he really wants to keep this team in New Orleans. Let's check in. That makes you happy, now.
Oh, it makes me tremendously happy. I mean, they are making progress right now.
All right, let's check in with Kenny Wilkerson, who's at the Saints camp, and he was there for the press conference and everything. And Kenny, I don't think there's any more question that this sort of really solidifies the fact that the Saints are going to be in New Orleans long term.
Yeah, I think that's right, and I think that it proves both sides of the story, and both sides, all along we're trying to, get it done. Everybody remember way back when this one, she said, he said, she said, and all that this one was negotiating and so forth and so all that. Forget about all that. Everybody's trying to do what they have to do to keep the football team here, and that was, I think, proven very well today.
One moment of caution, because you know what we deal with a lot of times. Other than this year, when they guaranteed the $12.5 million, it's got to be approved by the legislature for it to be kicked into effect what they've agreed to today.
Well, that's right. But
I mean, the guaranteed money.
The difference in that, in which I agree, that's right. That's a one flag of caution. And I asked him in the press conference, okay, if the NFL approves it, I can't imagine Mr. Benson signed anything and agreed to something that he doesn't think he'll get approval from the league office up in New York. At the same time, I think we could say the same thing about the governor and with all the legislators and senators and everybody that were there today, buddy.
Well,
because I think that was pretty powerful, how many people actually showed up for this and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is how the money and where the money is going to come from. We've got to get the approval, but, all these people are behind it, and the governor, who has already put his name on it, too. We don't have to wait for anybody to sign anything like last time when that whole deal, and you can throw all that one out the window. That thing that they agreed to and they had the big press conference about a couple months ago, forget about all that. And none of that stuff was ever even signed anyway.
Except that really this governor is going to be fading away into the duck ponds for the rest of his life. I mean, this is, he's a short-termer. So it's whoever that we're talking really about is the new governor that has to give the impetus. And again, I agree, everything looks good. But no one, from the legislative standpoint, how with some of the things that have happened in the past, and we're just saying you got to have at least one little caution light.
Yeah, well, buddy, we differ on the fading away into the duck pond, because believe me, I wish I could go with the governor, and and I think Hokie would come with me as well. But he's.
You mean you'd rather be in the duck pond than doing what you do? Hokie shake his head. He would rather be doing what he's doing on Sunday than be in the duck pond.
Yeah, right. Hokie lies. No, buddy. I know that they've got to get the approval, and they have their different ways in this contract of where that money is going to come from. Who knows how this thing's going to turn out down the road, but it doesn't matter at this point. What matters, all that does matter is that, right now both of them have signed the deal, and the Blue Ribbon Committee can go to work and come up with their proposals and their plans, and the state can go to work as well. And you know what? Like you and I talked about over a week ago now, at least, I mean, the deal, the way that it is, and even for the legislative approval, it's almost impossible for them to say no, because if whatever money they approve to give to the Saints, however they come up with that money, right, that money gets paid back if the Saints after 2005 opt to get out of their deal and exercise their release clause in the deal. So it's, in essence, it's a loan, and so it's almost unless you just are completely bent on trying to stick it to the Saints, it's impossible to say no to the deal because the money gets paid back. That's why I think that even though they still do have to get the legislative approval, they're going to get that, because how can you say no to it? It's impossible to say no to it.
You make a good point, but let me say to you, you've had the same experience as I had. They got some people in the legislature that from time to time you say, my God, what a squirrel. I mean, can he believe what he's saying? Or what? Now, how many of those they have? Will they be overwhelmed by the sort of the ones who are sound thinkers? I don't know, but I'm very much encouraged. Well, and I know they got a lot of bites. Mark Jafisi back at the station has bites from the different principals today. And
that's right.
We're going to take a... Well, let's go to Mark and play a few of those, and then we'll go back to a break and kind of set the stage exactly what the deal includes.
Okay, buddy, we'll play 2 bites before you have to go to break. First, here's Governor Foster and what he likes about the deal today.
We were very, very close to an agreement that he and I had worked out orally, about 2 weeks ago. He was busy, I was busy, our staffs were busy. They got back together and perfected it into what I think is an even much better deal for the state and the team. I will simply tell you that I think without any doubt this will keep the Saints here for 10 years, which is what I wanted to see happen.
And here's Tom Benson, buddy, and Mr. Tom's a happy man.
And it is a great day for the Saints. The governor says this commitment on our part and the state's parts for 10 years. Hopefully during that time we will come to some conclusion on the future, on what we're going to do. But in the meantime, we don't have to worry about it for a while. We can take that off the headlines, and we can just get back to business and winning football games. Sure.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. Buddy D. Hokie, guys, on live at Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi, where we're doing the show every Wednesday night for the duration of the football season and into the playoffs. The Saints and the state have agreed in principle to a new 10-year deal, one-time out option after the 2005 season, and even that would be a $75 million penalty. Mark Jafisi back at the station's got bites from all the parties involved in today's press conference. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, buddy. Steve Perry, the governor's chief of staff, did a lot of the heavy lifting for the governor. His overview of the deal.
What the deal provides is, in the first year, a guarantee of $12.5 million. That has already been provided for by the legislature substantially through the passage of a number of acts and supplemental appropriations bills. Those dollars come from the exact sources that you already know, and they've been provided in the past. What will happen is we will do this. We will ask the Blue Ribbon panel under Dan Packer's chairmanship to examine this memorandum, to ratify it, and to review the inducement package over years 2 through 10, and to bring to the legislature this spring an inducement package that will be able to provide from the greater New Orleans community those dollars that are not already provided for through Superdome operations and events in the greater New Orleans area that make up the difference. We know what the economic impact is here. It's phenomenal. Now we know the New Orleans Saints are going to be here.
And, buddy, here's Steve Perry on the escalators in the new deal.
The agreement has built-in escalators. In the first 2 years, $12.5 million net incremental income flows to the New Orleans Saints, followed in the second 3 years by $15 million, $15 million, $15 million. In the 6th and 7th years, it goes to $20 million. In the final 3 years, it goes to $23.5 million. This provides the kind of inflationary growth that will hopefully keep this partnership exactly as it is now and provide the revenue growth the Saints need to be competitive as the salary cap rises, as operational cost rises, and keeps them in the upper echelons of the National Football League.
And here's the Chief of Staff on the differences between the verbal deal that fell through and the new deal signed off today.
Now, what is different from the original agreement? Under the current arrangement the New Orleans Saints have, they have the option to leave in the year 2005. In the year 2005, they're able to leave with a payment of $25 million. Under the new agreement, it would require a payment of $75 million for the New Orleans Saints to leave. This would, in essence, be the $25 million existing penalty and 50 of the $70 million inducements paid to them. That is illustrative of the commitment by Mr. Benson and the organization to the New Orleans community. It's clear now the New Orleans Saints are going to be here.
And one more bite before the break, buddy. Here's Steve Perry. More aspects on the new deal and an indoor training facility for the Saints.
Most college football teams and the majority of National Football League teams have indoor practice facilities. The New Orleans Saints do not have that capacity. In the Deep South, you have tremendously hot weather. You have, as we all know, a high volume of afternoon summer thunder showers. It's extremely disruptive to the football operation side. As part of this long-term agreement, the state has agreed to partner with the New Orleans Saints in the development of an indoor practice facility and expansion of their existing facilities here on this site at a cost of approximately $8 million, with the state paying 75% of that, or a $6 million cap. As further evidence of the New Orleans Saints' commitment to this community long term, if the Saints should elect to leave for any reason in 2005, not only would they have to pay $75 million, but they would have to pay the entirety of the money on the training camp facilities, which would be the $6 million investment that we would make, or $81 million total.
Okay, we're going to continue with Sports Talk. Buddy D. Hooker, guys, on live at Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi. We'll be back.
Macanudo, America's favorite premium cigar, brings you the ultimate experience. It's the Club Macanudo Touring Cigar Lounge. Soft leather chairs, mahogany bar, satellite TV with surround sound and home theater. And that's just the inside. Outside the Club Macanudo Touring Cigar Lounge spreads its canopy, sets out Adirondack chairs, tables, even another TV so you can sit back, relax, and indulge the perfect Macanudo. So come aboard and try a complimentary Macanudo cigar, win prizes, and savor the ultimate cigar experience. The Club Macanudo Touring Lounge. If you enjoy the experience of a fine premium cigar in the perfect environment, then Don Juan Cigar Company invites you to join them on Tuesday, October 2nd from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. and experience perfection in the Club Macanudo Touring Cigar Lounge. The Don Juan Cigar Company, 3200 Severn Street in Metairie. Call 889-2600. Don Juan Cigar Company, Severn at 19th Street across from Lakeside Mall. Surgeon General warning, cigar smoke can cause lung cancer and heart disease. WWL 870 AM. Traffic and weather together on the 8s.
An accident off sitting on the side at Bonneville inbound I-10E, still causing some headaches through that area. The outbound Lakebound Expressway still showing delay on the downside of Carrollton. No surprises headed to the west. Causeway Bridge, northbound lanes in good shape. We have southbound construction from the toll plaza southbound in the left lane. Be ready for that. The riverbound still stacking before Claiborne. Mile markers 205 to 209 LaPlace area. Still one lane only there. We do have high-rise delays ranging before the I-610 merge. Rob Nelson, Skywatch 1, WWL 870 AM.
Jackpot update. The Powerball has climbed up to an estimated $48 million. $48 million. And the State Lotto jackpot's now at $450,000 in cash. That's right, cash. The drawings are tonight, so play them both. Powerball and Lotto.
This evening, we're looking for mostly clear skies, temperatures from the 70s to the 60s. Overnight tonight, another cool one north of the lake with lows in the upper 40s to low 50s. South of the lake in the upper 50s to low 60s. Thursday looks like a beauty with highs in the upper 70s.
Hi, this is Hoka Gajan again, speaking on behalf of Tony Liuz and the staff at Causeway Chrysler Center, the place where every customer is treated right and leaves completely satisfied. The efforts of Tony and his staff at Causeway Chrysler Center represent the best cars and trucks on the road today. That's Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep, and they're committed to getting you the most for less on the specific vehicle you choose. Whether it's new or used cars and trucks, the professionals at Causeway Chrysler Center always go the extra mile on service after the sale. So go see Tony and his staff at Causeway Chrysler Center on Highway 190 in Covington and tell them Hokie sent you.
Hi, I'm Buddy D, delivering for Domino's. This Saints season, you can get $6 off the regular menu price on any large pizza order the day of a Saints game. That's right, Domino's Pizza $6 off special is the day of every Saints game. From opening at 11 in the morning until closing at night at all Domino's locations, you get $6 off the regular menu price on any large pizza order, carry out or delivery. So order a large Domino's pizza, an order of great buffalo wings, a 2-liter bottle of Coke, and get $6 off the order the day of every Saints game.
There's no second guessing where Buddy D's going to be Monday nights. Casino Magic in Bay St. Louis from 5 to 7:45. Join WWL's Big Daddy of Sports, Buddy D, for a recap of the weekend's game. The plays, the stats, the shining stars. It's the coulda, woulda, shoulda postgame show, and it's a Monday night tradition. Second guessing the game. Live from Casino Magic in Bay St. Louis. 5 to 7:45 with Buddy D and WWL 870 AM.
CBS News Update. I'm Dave Barrett. So where is Osama bin Laden?
Based on what they know of Osama bin Laden's personality and habits, U.S. intelligence analysts believe he is still inside Afghanistan, hiding out in one of his many underground bunkers where only a direct assault by ground troops could reach him.
Correspondent David Martin says some of those tunnels are big enough to drive a motorcycle through. Muslim leaders met the president today. Mr. Bush said it is safe to fly.
One of the keys to economic recovery is going to be a vital industry, the vitality of the airline industry. And I presume many of you came to Washington today by flying, and you're here safely.
The president outlines new security measures tomorrow. CBS News has learned the plan includes air marshals and tougher checks when you pass through metal detectors. A memorial service today in Boston. 22 airline workers died when 2 planes were hijacked from Logan Airport. At the service, a rose for each victim was placed in a basket, which will soon be delivered to New York's Ground Zero. CBS News Update. I'm Dave Barrett.
Hi, folks. Archie Manning for my friends at Royal Mazda in Metairie. I'm excited to tell you about Royal Mazda's Make Your Move clearance event. If you're looking for a great car at a great price, this is it. This is your very best time of the entire year to get a bargain. Have you taken a good look at the new Mazda Millennia? Folks, this is a world-class car that flat out loves to run, a true driver's car. If you compare the Millennia to other sports sedans, you'll find it's much more car for much less money. Stop into Royal and take one out for a spin and see what I mean. And all Royal Mazdas come with a 50,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. That's 14,000 miles above and beyond the traditional 36,000-mile warranty. Folks, these are the biggest bargains in Royal's 37-year history. It's the big Royal Mazda Make Your Move clearance event going on right now at Royal Mazda, across from Lakeside Shopping Center in Metairie.
Hi, David Tyree for One Metairie Place, which offers you the best of the 3 L's, lifestyle, living, and location. Lifestyle, you have nothing to maintain but the inside of your home. Door-to-door trash pickup is a great convenience. The beautiful deep blue saltwater pools are easier on your eyes and hair than chlorine. And the surrounding courtyards, simply beautiful. Living? Inside these beautiful condos, they have ornate crown molding, modern flooring, granite counters, and the latest appliances. And right now, you can select colors and flooring and even make changes to your floor plan. The one-bedroom units are perfect for active professionals. The two-bedrooms, extremely popular. And now, One Metairie Place is introducing three-bedroom units. Location? You will live right in the heart of Metairie, between Bonneville and Causeway, just minutes from great shopping and easy interstate access. Location, location, location. Call Linda now at 828-7070 to schedule your tour of One Metairie Place. That's One Metairie Place, 828-7070.
Now, more sports talk with Buddy D on WWL.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. Buddy D. Hoka guys on live at Beau Rivage Resort Casino in Biloxi. We're here every Wednesday night during the football season. The big story of the day, and I know some people are just in the process of driving home now and haven't heard all the information and all, so that's why we're sort of putting everything, all the emphasis on that right at the moment until they get finished with all the bites from the press conference. New Orleans Saints and the state have agreed to a new deal, 10 years, and actually is a one-time out after the year 2005, but it would take a $75 million penalty at that time. Mark Chafisi's back at the station with more of the bites from the press conference. Mark?
Okay, buddy. Again, Steve Perry, the chief of staff of Mike Foster. Man, he says John Fourcade might be playing football again in New Orleans. Arena football's coming.
In addition to the indoor training facility, we have agreed to negotiate in good faith a viable financial arrangement for both the New Orleans Arena and the new Arena Football League franchise owned by Mr. Benson to play in the arena. We'll begin doing that, I think, probably fairly shortly.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah.
You know what? Let me just say, aside to Josh Peter of the Times-Picayune, my old school, hey, I guess they don't have to put me out to pasture. I know a lot of guys, my friends at the Picayune, were convinced that Tom Benson was acing everybody. Well, you know, welcome to the real world, guys.
That's one for you.
Yeah.
And here's Steve Perry on the final eyes.
Wait.
What?
They said how embarrassed I was, and they were telling the truth. I was embarrassed by the Ditka thing because, you know, it turned out bad.
No, you did hire him, so.
Well, but listen, I hope they're just embarrassed about what they've been thinking for the last 6 months or so.
Okay.
All right.
Now, here's Steve Perry talking about the final T's to be crossed and I's to be dotted for this deal to be fully finalized.
It's important to realize that this document is both binding and non-binding. The majority of it is binding. For example, as soon as this is signed now, the Saints, I believe, will present the memorandum to the National Football League for approval. Once we receive that, we will immediately issue, upon the suspension of the arbitration proceedings currently in effect, which will happen very, very quickly, we will make an immediate payment to them of $4 million. That will be the first part of their inducement package that will flow to them throughout the course of the year.
And here's Saints Director of Administration Arnold Filko and his comments on the new agreement.
I think this is an agreement that is wonderful news for this community. I think it's wonderful news for the Saints in the sense that we can start to have an opportunity to be financially competitive with some of the other clubs in the league. We're never going to be in the top echelon of the league in this marketplace, but this gives us a chance to be competitive, and we're excited about that. We're excited that a commitment has been made. It has been a good 8 or 9 months of a lot of work here and a lot of discussion, and I think at the end of the day, both sides walk away feeling this is a very fair and a very reasonable deal, and something we're looking forward to now to implement and work with the legislature this spring and getting approved and moving forward, hopefully for the next 10 years.
Well, at Beau Rivage Resort Casino in Biloxi, we've been talking about the press conference today with the new agreement between the state and the Saints, and right now Kenny Wilkerson said, let's go back to him at the Saints camp.
Okay, buddy, a few more bites from Steve Perry. He talks about maybe the change in job, the new work responsibilities of the Blue Ribbon Committee headed by Dan Packard with this new deal.
Charge number one, we will ask them to endorse or reject the basic parameters of this 10-year agreement. Secondly, we're going to ask them prior to January 15th to develop legislative recommendations on financing the gap between those sources we've identified and those sources that are necessary to provide these inducements long term. So there's some real serious financial work by the commission to do. Number three, we're going to ask the commission to study and recommend short-term renovations to this dome. knowing that we're going to be in the Superdome now for 10 years, there are some very, very serious planning and thinking that needs to occur as to what types of renovations, modernizations, and refurbishment should occur, and what the cost benefit of that is by January 15th. That's an accelerated time frame. The final is, or the fourth is obviously to deal with the improvements in the training camp. We're going to be able to get that done now. I know they're going to be off and running very, very quickly on exactly how to design and implement it in the fastest possible time frame.
And here's more Steve Perry on the future of a new stadium in New Orleans.
From the point of view of the city and its planning, the new stadium obviously is off the table in the near future. Everyone realizes, though, 10 years passes in a blink of an eye. And at some point, this community is going to have to begin the process of planning a new stadium and a new home for the New Orleans Saints. The great benefit we have now is the community has a time frame that is reasonable for it to begin that planning as a successor to the Superdome. We're going to ask Mr. Packer's group to continue immediately on assessing all of the variables for new stadium development, because as we go toward the end of this process, this community is going to have to begin early and make decisions, even though it'll be a few years away.
And as part of this new deal, the state will be marketing up to 10 suites in the dome.
What we reached as an accommodation between both parties was identifying 10 specific suites in the Superdome. The state will have the right to exercise each year the right to, in essence, count those 10 suites as part of its inducement package toward the $12.5 million or the $15 million. The state then, through its agent SMG in the Dome, would remarket those suites. We would then become a marketing partner of the New Orleans Saints in this community to sell those suites. And upon selling the suites, the money would be provided within 45 days to the New Orleans Saints organization, and those would count in that block of 10 toward our inducement package. That's a way then for the New Orleans Saints to have additional help in marketing, and a way for us to help mitigate the actual cash dollars that we're coming up with from the state side.
One more bite, buddy. Here's Steve Perry. He said in the press conference there'll be some minor renovations to the Dome. He talks about the effect that will have on bidding on big-time sporting events in the future.
One of the points of contention or discussion all along has been the relationships regarding the ability of the city of New Orleans and the Superdome and the state to make good bids for NCAA Final Fours and to provide the kind of accommodations to the Sugar Bowl, particularly when we have the BCS championship game. That has been worked out in this agreement, and so now we've got a very stable arrangement and an ability to put the kind of bid packages required to bring national championship events here to New Orleans.
Mark, one thing I think it wasn't addressed, but I mean it falls right into it, Hokie, the fact that now that the SMG with the company they hired, they can go on with the naming rights deal. In other words, trying to find a corporation that would buy the naming rights for the Super Bowl.
That absolutely clears that also. And probably the last hurdle, and looks like that's going to happen too, is finalizing a deal between the NADA and the NFL regarding the Super Bowl, because that's a big piece of it. But I agree, this is another thing that falls into place to selling the name rights for the stadium.
Hokie?
Well, I mean, you know, I'm just tickled to death that things are moving in a positive direction right now. And, you know, I mean, there's still a little, it sounds like a few things that they kind of need to get tweaked out and everything else. But, I mean, they got the ball rolling now.
And starting Sunday, the concentration can be on football, incidentally.
Sports Talk on WWL.
Welcome back to Sports Talk. Buddy D. Hokie, guys, on live at Beau Rivage Resort and Casino in Biloxi. We're here every Wednesday night during the football season. Beau Rivage has terrific room packages available, starting at only $69 per room, any Sunday through Thursday. You can enjoy an overnight deluxe accommodation, 2 lunch buffets, and $10 in slot-free pay. Call 1-800-567-6667 for reservations. All right, so everything's starting to clear up a little bit now, and I think the concentration will be on football. The New York Giants remain a 3-